welcome to this tactical analysis of what was an absolutely brilliant game between Tottenham and Liverpool. Before we get into the tactical analysis, I do think that the referee had quite a big influence on this game with regards to red cards or non-red cards given. So Kane obviously didn't get booked, probably should have, and then later on Robertson did get booked, and that obviously influenced the tactics. I thought it was important to mention that before we get into it. Other than that, if you enjoy the videos, please give them a thumbs up, consider subscribing, and with that, let's get into it. Okay, so starting with Tottenham, typically built up in like a 3-2-3-2 deep or a 3-4-1-2. That two in the midfield had Dele Alli initially starting with Harry Winks, but then he moved to be a little bit higher, but typically Undue wasn't involved in that deeper build-up. There are quite a few technical little details here and there, so I suggest having a look in the description down below, as well as comments for a full tactical summary. Okay, so here we have the back three of Tottenham trying to build up versus the 4-3-3 press of Liverpool. We've got Harry Winks in that CDM role, as mentioned, with Dele Alli as well as also Undue higher. Even when they made substitutions, and then you had the likes of Moura on, as well as also Skip instead of the two centre midfielders we have here, they still were taking relatively similar positions. As mentioned, Dele Alli was a little bit deeper, I'd say, than Undue was. He was expected to be a little bit more between the lines. And of course, with this back three, the luxury that they get with that is that you have wing backs that are able to hold the width. Of course, this is Jurgen Klopp's Liverpool, so they're going to press, and they pressed towards a touchline. So the far-sided forward will try and force Tottenham towards whichever side that they chose to go. So in this case, the ball has come over to Sanchez from a central position, and Liverpool really want the ball to keep going out towards a wing back. Once the ball goes towards a wing back, you'll have the forward that side go and press them with intensity, as well as also the fullback for Liverpool. So that has the knock-on effect that the far-sided fullback has to tuck inside. So we see that here with Trent, and that of course leaves tons of space for Tottenham to try and switch it out towards that left-hand side. And they were constantly setting up these kind of situations, Tottenham, to try and take advantage of the width that they have with their wing backs. So as mentioned, we see Liverpool, their 4-3-3 press, the forwards trying to press towards whichever side that Tottenham have chosen to pass towards. So we see Salah, the far-sided forward in this case, going past his man Ben Davies and then towards a central centre-back, and the Liverpool centre midfielders trying to support this press, moving into position so that if the ball is passed out towards a wing-back, they'll be there to try and cover that pass. Fortunately for Tottenham here, Dyer is able to avoid Salah's press and play it out towards Ben Davies. Dyer was really key in this formation, as well as also Winks. The passing ability of these two is second to none. So whether it's just basic distribution and avoiding presses, but then also the ability to be able to spray those long balls with accuracy. And so we see Ben Davies able to escape up that left-hand side. Okay, so in that previous example, we saw the 4-1-2-3 or 4-3-3 press of Liverpool, and to combat the space that the likes of Dele Alli, and in this case it's Skip, but earlier before the substitution Undue were able to find, Liverpool changed to this 4-4-2 or 4-2-4 pressing shape. Of course, with this shape, it allows them to be able to press both those wide centre midfield for Tottenham, but then also have those wide midfielders for Liverpool go and press out towards the wing backs. This way, it was just that little bit more difficult for the Tottenham midfield to be able to pass through the centre of the park. But of course, with that, you sacrifice being able to put pressure onto the Tottenham centre-backs themselves. Once you sacrifice some of the efficacy of pressing the Tottenham centre-backs, Liverpool weren't going to be dissuaded. So you would have that front four push out higher, trying to put pressure onto the centre-backs and Harry Winks. But as is the beauty of football, that then leaves space in your formation for the other team to exploit, which is what Harry Winks and Dele Alli are looking to try and do by dropping into these spaces just behind that four. Of course, another benefit of having the wide centre midfielders for Tottenham drop is that it forces Liverpool to react to that and to narrow to that side, which then creates space for the switch if Tottenham wish to do that. This switching the point of attack again and again was something that Liverpool did as well. In their case, it was a little bit easier for them to do that because of Tottenham's formation, but by them switching it, it allows them to be able to tire out the wide centre midfielders of Tottenham, who were expected to press the fullbacks or whoever was in the fullback position for Liverpool. Liverpool were able to force Tottenham into a number of passes along the back, and eventually into a slightly sloppy pass out of Ben Davies. But this isn't entirely against Tottenham's objective. They don't mind drawing Liverpool higher into their defensive third, because that leaves more space when they then launch the long ball towards whether it's Harry Kane or Son, as they will have less players to deal with when contesting the second balls. Okay, so we have Tottenham here in a 3-2-5 or a 3-1-6 shape, where the wing backs are providing the width. One of your wide centre midfielders has joined the forwards, whilst Skip is a little bit deeper. Of course, part of Dele Alli being this high is because of his particular skill set, his ability to make those late runs and exquisitely pull the ball out of the air. Of course, with that long ball, Liverpool's 4-4-2 shape is forced to retreat, and Tottenham is able to set up in their preferred positions in Liverpool's half. So we're thinking of wing backs very high and wide so that they can pull off those switches, with the forwards narrow and towards whichever side the switch is looking to be played. Of course, with Harry Kane and Son typically being more towards the box, but whoever the near side of the wide centre midfielders is, and one of those forwards might come across to try and help combine and create a crossing opportunity. In this case, as Liverpool try and push out and regain the ball, Tottenham look to take advantage of the aggressive high line and play the ball in with a clever run from Dele Alli and a beautiful ball by Sanchez. Without doubt, they were targeting the right-hand side of Liverpool's defence. For a while, there's been a consensus that you can get at Trent Alexander-Arnold defensively, specifically with aerial duels. So despite support from Matip, Tottenham were constantly bombarding the spaces where Trent was meant to be defending, with long balls for Harry Kane and Son to try and contest and provide flick-ons for each other. And lastly, Tottenham moved to like a 3-5-2 once Liverpool had their red card, and they were playing a 4-2-3 or a 4-5 out of possession. Tottenham made a number of substitutions. I'd say that the player whose role changed the most was possibly Moura. Of course, he doesn't have the same skill set as Dele Alli with regards to those late runs and really good ability to be able to pull a ball out of the air on the run in behind an opponent's defence. So instead, Moura was used either side, so he constantly floating from right to left as a means of just maintaining possession, eluding Liverpool's press, which Liverpool still try to do in this 4-2-3 or 4-5 shape, despite having obviously a red card, because of the pressure that Man City are exerting with just their relentless winning. Of course, with having a man less, Tottenham were just abusing the fact that they had obviously a full complement and they had wing backs, so there was just switches galore. And this is a really great example because at one point Winks is telling Royale, like, why are you so deep? Get higher, get higher, get higher. Force Liverpool back. Okay, so moving on to Liverpool's attack, predominantly they were set up in a 2-5-3, of course this being prior to the red card. Tottenham in the first half didn't really press Liverpool goal kicks, instead allowing Liverpool to kind of progress the ball towards the halfway point, at which point the wide centre midfielders for Tottenham would try and engage whoever was in that fullback position for Liverpool. I say whoever because sometimes Milner was the one who dropped into a left back position, and that allowed Robertson to be able to push high into almost a left wing position. Counters present a really good opportunity versus a back five, so Liverpool had to do that. But other than that, they were constantly looking to try and create crossing opportunities, typically from that left-hand side, through combination play with the near-sided fullback. Both of the wide centre midfielders, so both Keita as well as Milner, and then also the forwards. So most of the time that's going to be Jota as well as also Mane. And what they're looking to try and take advantage of is the wide centre midfielders for Tottenham tiring, as well as also the gaps that will open up as the wing back for Tottenham goes to press, whether it's the wide midfielder or maybe it's a full back or whoever is in that wide space, and you have the wide centre back having to come across, and then behind him another one of Liverpool's players will maybe be running in behind him, between him and the central centre-back Dyer. So in those moments of indecision, those slight gaps created by all that movement and just how slow communication is comparatively, Liverpool are trying to get one of those players running in behind to provide a cutback or a cross. And on this occasion, we see Keita is the one out wide, Salah, as well as also the other forwards are narrow. Undue has gone to go and press towards the fullback, with the wing back for Tottenham looking to try and press the player in the wide space. And as Sessegnon goes to press, there's a number of options for Salah, of course, key ones being both that run in behind as well as also dropping off. Salah chooses to drop off, but Ben Davies tracks him, and similarly on the other side you'd have Davinson Sanchez track the forward when they dropped off too, as well as also Dyer on occasion. Eventually the ball goes out for a Liverpool throw. And this play in the 29th minute I think is a really good example of what we just mentioned with regards to the movement of the near-sided full-back, forward and wide centre midfielder, looking to try and release one of them in behind to cut it back for the other forwards. Unfortunately, when the ball is circulated back to Milner, he tries tries a more difficult pass into a central space and Jota is collapsed on, and you see Tottenham immediately counter, which was their response whenever they regained the ball initially. And then I thought it would be good to show Liverpool's formation once they went down to 10 men as they sought to try and get the 3 points. You now have 3 dedicated centre-backs on, as Gomez had come on as well. And other than looking for counter-attack, Liverpool tried these long balls in the hope that, you know, maybe just a little lucky bounce goes in their favour and they're able to get Salah in and he bags the 3 point. With that, we've covered the main points. If you enjoy the video, please give it a thumbs up, consider sharing it on social media as well as subscribing. And with that, we're out.